I have zero respect for a man who cheats on his pregnant wife. That was Coco, my college roommate, practically snarling in the middle of our dorm room. She was usually the laid-back type, the kind of girl who could joke through a failed exam or spilled latte. But that night? Her jaw was clenched, eyes burning. She'd just gotten back from a family gathering that ended in something like a scene from a bad TV drama. It happened over dinner. Her cousin Grace, 6 months pregnant, suddenly stood up, walked straight into the kitchen, grabbed a knife, and held it to her neck. Real tears. Real blade. Real silence. All because Ray, Coco's cousin and Grace's husband, looked up from his plate and said, casually, a woman should still know her place, even when she's about to become a mother. Just one sentence. That's all it took to push Grace to the edge. Everyone panicked. Some froze. Some cried. One uncle even tried to sneak up behind her in case he needed to knock her out cold. And Coco? Coco, unaware of the full story, muttered to her mom, well, Ray's not wrong, is he? Big mistake. Her mom yanked her aside, hand over her mouth, and hissed, shut it. You have no idea what that family's been hiding. And that's when the whole thing started unraveling. Let me tell you about Coco. Her real name's Wang Jiejia, but no one ever uses it. We call her Coco, not because it sounds cute, but because she's obsessed with Coco brand bubble tea. Like, religiously. She grew up in a steel town dynasty. Her family owns a massive factory in a city. And when I say massive, I mean empire-level money. Her dad. He bought out an entire 23-story apartment building in the capital back in 2008, near a subway line, no less. 4 units per floor. I did the math once and nearly cried. And yet, Coco never acted like money meant anything. She wore knockoff leather, dragged around a beat-up backpack, and lived in the same dorm as the rest of us. If you met her, you'd never guess she came from real wealth. The factory her family owned was so big, every branch of the extended family had a role. If you were good at something, you managed production. If you had connections, you supplied materials. If you were useless, you got stuck on guard duty. Ray, Coco's cousin, was one of those barely capable but overconfident types. He managed a production group. He was 28, making pretty good money, and the only one in the younger generation who didn't go to college. Still, somehow, he landed Grace, a corporate girl with a real degree and a future. From the outside, it looked like a stable match. Grace's parents thought she was marrying into security. A big-name family, a successful business, and financial peace of mind. What more could you want? But that illusion didn't last. Especially after Ray started believing his own hype. He strutted through life like he was CEO of the year. Cocky. Entitled. Full of himself. Coco's parents tolerated it until Ray crossed the line. He cheated on Grace. While she was pregnant. 6 months in. The other woman? Jenny. She was the only young female office clerk at the factory. Handled reports, typed up documents. At first, it was just late nights and flirty glances. Then it escalated. Quickly. Soon enough, they were sleeping together. And Jenny? She walked around like she owned the place. Power, Coco said, rolling her eyes, makes people think they're invincible. That night, Coco was practically vibrating with anger as she told us what happened. Ray and Jenny got caught in the act. It was the end of the month, around 9:30 p.m. Coco's mom had gone to the office to review numbers with the accountant. She opened the door, flipped on the lights, and there they were. Coco covered her eyes like she could still see it. She screamed, she said. Jenny's skirt was up around her waist. Her ponytail was gone. Lipstick smeared all over her face. Ray was scrambling to yank his pants back on. Even her mom, who'd brokered million-yuan deals and shut down 3 factory strikes, was speechless. She said the last time she saw Ray's bare ass, he was 3 years old, Coco muttered. We were stunned. Even Faye, the class genius, put her textbook down. Sarah and I just stared, jaws open. Part of us wanted to grab popcorn. But it didn't end there. Coco's mom didn't raise hell that night. She was too seasoned for that. She told her husband, then said nothing more. Ray laid low for a few days, but when nothing happened, he doubled down. He started boasting. At the factory. At family dinners. He said he was a man with it all, love, money, respect. Jenny's performance at work tanked. So Coco's mom did what any competent boss would, collected the records, called her into the office, and laid out the facts. Your evaluation didn't pass, she said. You'll either be reassigned or dismissed. Jenny pushed back. Why? I've been working overtime. And yet you caused the loss of 100 tons of steel, Coco's mom replied calmly. And we lost a long-term client. The factory has absorbed the losses. She placed the evidence on the desk like a final blow. No yelling. No drama. Just clean, quiet authority. Jenny cried. Ray stormed in. Wrapped an arm around Jenny like he was rescuing a damsel in distress and shouted, "She's with me. If she goes, I go too." Coco's mom kept her cool. "Ray," she said, "Jenny's in admin. You're in production. Keep your personal life out of company operations. It's better for everyone. In other words, you want to sleep with her? Fine. Just don't tank the business while you do it." And yet, that wasn't enough for Ray or his mom. A few days later, Coco's aunt, the matriarch on Ray's side, stormed into the factory, accusing Coco's mom of targeting Jenny. The tension nearly exploded until Coco's dad walked in and defused the situation with a few well-placed words and an unshakable stare. That night in the dorm, Coco was still seething. "My parents built that company from nothing," she said, pacing again. "And now these leeches act like they own it. Like they can bully anyone they want." Sarah shook her head. "My dad used to say, corner a dog and it'll bite. But in your case, your aunt's the dog that bites without warning." Coco sighed, rubbing her temples. "My uncle passed a few years ago. Ever since then, she runs the show." Eventually, Coco's dad proposed a compromise. Jenny wouldn't be fired, but she'd be transferred to Ray's production team. Ray and his mom were thrilled. They called it a generous decision, said Coco's dad was a real man of vision. The rest of us? We were floored. Generous? Faye scoffed when she heard. More like enabling a trash couple to ruin the entire department. But Coco's dad wasn't as soft as he looked. Later, he pulled Coco aside and explained his plan. Ray had been acting like a goddamn peacock for too long. And Coco's dad? He'd been patient. Too patient. But after Ray's mom came storming into the office like she owned the place, something shifted. That compromise wasn't for peace. It was a setup. The idea was simple: let Ray and Jenny mess up the team. Then, when the department inevitably crumbled, use that as justification to downsize, strip Ray of authority, and eventually boot him out quietly, efficiently, with no one able to say a word. When Coco told us this, we just sat there in stunned silence for a moment. Then we all started slow clapping. "Did not see that coming," Sarah said. "Your dad looked so harmless when he helped you carry luggage on move-in day. Turns out he's a cold-blooded tactician." Meanwhile, Grace was now almost 30 weeks pregnant. 10 weeks from delivery. That was when she finally found out Ray was cheating. Grace wasn't just some wide-eyed girl from a small town. She had a real job at a major company. She worked hard, kept to herself, played by the rules. And yet, this. The day she found out, she stood outside her office in the dead of winter, wind slapping her cheeks, her hands numb as she tried to flag down a taxi. But nothing felt colder than the pit in her chest. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just went home, to her parents. When she told them, her mom cried until morning. Her dad stood out on the balcony chain smoking, too ashamed or too scared to come inside. He wouldn't even get near her, afraid the secondhand smoke would hurt the baby. But no one did anything. Not one phone call to Ray. Not a single confrontation. Just the three of them, trapped in a house of silence and shame. When Coco told me this, I couldn't believe it. And she was furious. If that were me, she snapped, my dad would have stormed into Ray's house with a baseball bat. Even Faye, quiet, composed Faye, nodded. Same. My dad doesn't make much, but he'd back me up without a second thought. Lisa chimed in, Grace's family being this passive? That's what's really heartbreaking. They were right. Grace's family had already decided she was the one who had to endure it. That her job was to suffer in silence. When the two families finally sat down to talk, it wasn't a negotiation. It was theater. Ray's mom, Coco's aunt, took the lead, yelling at Ray, even forcing him to kneel before Grace. He dropped to the floor with a thud like he was in some drama scene. Grace's parents acted outraged, gave Ray a scolding that lasted all of 45 seconds. Then came the chorus of persuasion. Do it for the baby. Men make mistakes. He still loves you, deep down. Grace sat there, numb, surrounded by voices urging her to be the bigger person. And something in her started to crack. She thought, maybe I'm the one being too harsh. Maybe all men cheat. Maybe he was just confused. This is marriage, right? You stick it out for the child. And just like that, Grace walked right into the trap. She gave up her job. Stayed home with the baby. Let Ray keep cheating. And he did. With more women. Sloppier. Crueler. He started blaming her. Said she was boring. Said she wasn't smart enough, attractive enough, strong enough. He told her she was too weak to leave him. And she believed it. He used their child as a leash. He told her to quit her job for the good of the family. So she did. She became a full-time mom, drowning in diapers and dishes, completely invisible. And Ray. He got worse. He stopped hiding the insults. Stopped pretending. Once, in front of their kid, he looked her dead in the eye and said, "You think someone like you can tie me down?" It wasn't even anger. It was disgust. Then, one day, his newest fling saw Grace and laughed. Just one word, hag. That was it. That one word shattered everything Grace had been holding together. All the sacrifice, all the silence, it suddenly felt like nothing. So when she stood up at that family gathering with a knife in her hand, it wasn't about losing her mind. It was about finally snapping. Faye. Sarah. Aaron. That's me, Aaron. Coco turned to us, eyes hard. We're helping Grace. I don't care if he's my cousin. That man's a piece of shit. How? I asked. I want her to leave him. I want her to take what she's owed. And I want her to burn him to the ground. And that's how the four of us, just a group of college girls, found ourselves quietly planning the takedown of a marriage. No drama. No noise. Just power. Step 1, wake Grace up. Faye dove into research. What makes a good partner? What healthy relationships look like? Why cheating during pregnancy is abuse, not a mistake. She messaged us non-stop. I used to think love was candles and confession notes under your dorm window. Now I know that's just fluff. A good partner doesn't light candles. He builds a plan for the next 5-10 years. And actually sticks to it. She made a Google document, organized it all. And we started feeding it to Grace in small, quiet doses. Coco posted snippets of it to her Instagram, visible to only one person, Grace. A week later, Grace liked a post titled, "How to Destroy a Woman, Just Keep Telling Her She's Not Enough." 2 weeks after that, she left a comment on a public post about emotional gaslighting. That night, we bought 4 large passion fruit bubble teas and toasted quietly in the dorm kitchen. Grace was waking up. To push things even further, I decided to call in backup my older sister. The one who makes $500,000 a year. The one who's always 5 steps ahead of me. The one who somehow manages to be intimidating and effortlessly cool at the same time. She's the kind of woman who spends every dollar she earns and still walks through life like she's got a trust fund waiting at home. One week she's presenting at a finance summit, the next she's hiking glaciers in Iceland or sipping cocktails in Morocco. That kind of deliberate, vivid living? It's contagious. Especially to someone like Grace. So Coco orchestrated a little meetup under the pretense of grabbing dinner with my sister. Grace came, curious but cautious. That night, after dinner, Coco called me up, practically vibrating through the phone. "Your sister's a goddess," she said. "I mean it." She opened my third eye. If I knew she was gonna be that impressive, I would have brought my mom to take notes. And honestly, I got it. Because I've heard my sister's speeches my entire life, and even I still get chills sometimes. Her greatest hits. Live big. Especially as a woman. Build your income. Have a long-term growth plan. And always, always secure a solid financial safety net. She doesn't just preach it to women. She says it to anyone trying to live well. And apparently, it hit Grace right in the gut. Because the next day, she pulled me aside and whispered, "Do you think it's too late for someone like me to start over?" I smiled. "You're asking the wrong question." That was the moment I knew we'd made our first real move. Meanwhile, things on Ray's end were slowly crumbling. Most of his team, loyal only when it served them, had quietly requested transfers. The people he once led with flair and fake charm no longer cared to follow. And when your crew walks away, your paycheck follows. His income had already dipped well below what it was 2 years ago. And Jenny? Let's just say her exclusive status had been downgraded. From the factory's queen bee to one of several background extras in Ray's ongoing personal drama. She didn't leave. But her crown was gone. That summer, Coco and I visited her family's factory. I met Jenny in person. She was wearing a pressed white blouse tucked into a tight gray pencil skirt. Her long ponytail had been chopped into a neat shoulder-length cut. She looked clean, controlled. But in my head, all I could see was that night, skirt around her waist, lipstick smeared, caught in the act. Still, when she spotted us, she crossed the courtyard like she didn't have a care in the world. "Miss Coco," she said with a smile. Coco barely nodded. Didn't say a word. Just let out a soft, through her nose and turned to me. "Aaron, let's eat at the canteen. My dad's favorite chef is on duty today. You'll like his stir-fry." "Sure," I said, looking around. "Why are there only men here?" It's kind of creepy. Why not invite your assistant to eat with us? Coco glanced over her shoulder at Jenny, then shrugged. Her. Fine. She didn't even ask if Jenny wanted to come. She just turned and walked off, her heels clicking across the pavement like gunshots. It was the first time I saw her really lean into the whole heiress act. The three of us sat near the window. Jenny fussed around us, bringing extra dishes, topping off water, hovering just enough to seem helpful. At one point, I almost thanked her. Coco shot me a look so sharp I snapped my mouth shut mid-sentence. Act the part, she whispered. After Jenny walked away, Coco leaned in. You want people to believe what you say? First, you make sure they believe they're beneath you. I raised an eyebrow. My mom taught me that, she added. Business 101. Then, with perfect casualness, she changed the subject. Aaron, you know Grace, right? She's so dull. It's no wonder Ray doesn't want her. I caught on immediately. This was a performance, and I was expected to play my part. I rolled my eyes and said, Ugh. I hate women who make a sacrifice their whole personality. Like, you gave up your job to raise a kid? That's not noble, that's just boring. Exactly. No brains, no face, no skills. She leaves Ray, and what's she got? She had a meltdown at the last family gathering, waved a knife around, sobbing like we'd ruined her life. If she's that miserable, she should just leave. Trust me, there are women lining up to marry Ray. I made a face. Is your cousin even that hot? He looks like the guy who peaked in high school and now sells protein shakes on Instagram. Coco laughed. You're not wrong. But his mom, my aunt? She hit the jackpot. Their side of the family scored 8 apartments during the A-City redevelopment. My aunt's only got one son. You do the math. 8? I gawked. Coco, set me up with him. I'm tired of working. Ha! Dream on. My mom already said, whoever gives her a grandson gets a house. She reached out to pinch my butt. I slapped her hand away. Rude. We cracked up laughing. And just like that, the mood shifted. But Jenny? Jenny had heard everything. She didn't say a word. Just stood there, pretending to clear the table while her ears absorbed every detail like a sponge. We left before she could linger too long. Outside, Coco exhaled like she'd just finished a final exam. God, being a bitch is exhausting. I laughed. You're too good at it, though. Then she got serious. You know what my dad always says? People can only make money within the limits of their own understanding. Anything beyond that? You'll pay it back eventually. In blood or regret. She looked up at the building behind us. They got 8 apartments, she said. But can they hold on to them? The answer was already unraveling. Those 8 apartments had come from Coco's grandparents, her dad's side. When the city redeveloped their neighborhood, the compensation was generous. Coco's parents were too busy with the business to care for the elders, so they let her dad's younger brother, then a nicer one, take over. As a gesture of goodwill, they stepped aside and let him claim the property shares. But then he died young. And his widow? She stayed cold. Calculating. She registered all 8 apartments under her name. Didn't put her in-laws on a single deed. Coco's grandparents spent their final years renting from their daughter-in-law, feeling like squatters in their own home. When confronted, the aunt said, better this way. Saves us from inheritance paperwork after they pass. That's the kind of woman we were up against. Lisa, Coco's older sister, was already legendary in the family. Mother of twins. Hardcore education mom. The kind who knew every elite kindergarten in a 20-mile radius. She'd always hated the way Ray treated Grace. Wanted to step in. Never found the right moment. So when Coco told her our plan, she lit up like she'd been handed a mission from God. She paced the living room in circles, then pulled out a notebook like a general sketching out a battle map. First move? She started dropping breadcrumbs in the family group chat. I've been thinking about buying a school district condo. The family gathered again that July for the Mid-Autumn Festival. Grace didn't come. Not after what happened last time. Lisa, though, was unusually active, glued to her phone, firing off voice messages, stepping out twice to take calls. Stay here and eat, sis, Coco whispered, sipping her tea. Lisa didn't even look up. I just got a tip. X Elementary updated its zoning. The unit I've been watching used to be Tier 2. Now it's Tier 1. The owner doesn't know yet. If I wait even one more day, the price is going up $1 million. She sent another voice message. Get it done. I'll add $50,000 as a private bonus. Then she looked around the table and said, to no one in particular, if your kid can get into that school, their future's basically locked in. Coco's aunt turned sharply. You don't need to go through all that trouble. Just give me the agent's number. I'll handle it. Auntie, that place costs $5 million. Can you really pull that off in cash? Lisa's question landed like a slap across the table. My aunt's eyes darted to Coco's dad, hunting for backup. Well, not that much, no, she murmured. Brother, maybe you could spot me for a bit? I'll pay it back the moment something frees up. But before Coco's dad could even open his mouth, Lisa cut in. Knew you'd ask. Too late, Dad already wired every penny he could spare to me. She tilted her phone, the bank app glowing like proof of life. You could always get a loan, though. $2 million down should do it. The look on my aunt's face? Pure defeat dressed up as a tight smile. Meanwhile, Jenny, Ray's side piece, had traded her pencil skirts for loose tunics and was puking most mornings. Whenever Ray asked, she claimed it was just stomach trouble. Sure, sis. One afternoon Coco and Lisa drifted by her desk like casual tornadoes. Lisa's eyes flicked to Jenny's stomach. 4 months, right? She asked, voice silk smooth. Jenny blurted, not yet, then slapped a hand over her mouth, horror written all over her face. Coco and Lisa just kept walking, chatting about nothing, but the damage was done. No wonder Ray's in such a rush to buy property, Lisa said loudly enough for Jenny to hear. Gotta lock things down for the baby. Jenny's expression morphed from guilt to confusion to outright panic. Coco put on her best clueless little sister act. Wait, am I getting a new sister-in-law? Lisa smirked. Only if it's a boy. The very next day Lisa's realtor friend, who doubled as the unofficial town gossip, phoned her in a frenzy. Ray's mistress is pregnant. She barged into our office demanding the deed in her own name, says she's carrying a son. You're kidding, Coco and Lisa said in unison. Not kidding at all. Crowd gathered like it was free reality TV. Ray begged me to smooth it over, but the girl's done her homework. And then your aunt shows up, the friend continued. Looks the girl dead in the eye and goes, sweetheart, this house can't go under your name. We don't even know if that baby's a boy, or if it's my son's. Seriously, how foul is that? Then she tells her, pop out a son and I'll hand you one of the smaller apartments, worth maybe $800K. But this one? No chance. In the end the deed went to Ray. The mistress has nothing but that bump to bargain with. Lisa laughed, equal parts impressed and horrified. Send me the security cam footage. I want the 4K director's cut. 5 months into our quiet campaign, Grace finally owned something substantial, a marital home, mortgage shared, deed listing both spouses. More importantly, we now had undeniable proof of Ray's affair. Ray, however, was feeling bigger than ever. A $5 million home, he said, deserved better than a 20 grand Honda. He wanted an Audi. An A6, minimum. His mom told him no, she bled enough cash already and still had to bankroll that maybe grandchild. Ray sulked, then set his sights on the $40,000 Grace kept for their son's education. That money was the wedding dowry earmarked for school. Their boy was 3, preschool fees were coming. Don't touch it, Grace warned. That's our kid's future. I'm using it to buy a place near a good school. Ray said nothing, because he'd already bought an apartment in secret. Grace tried again. We have a working car. We have savings. If something unexpected happens, we'll need a buffer. Unexpected, he sneered. You never have anything pleasant to say, do you? Grace held her ground. A car can wait. Education can't. Ray answered with a string of insults about her looks, her brains, her worth, then slammed the door so hard their son cried for half an hour. 3 days later Ray claimed his mom had beef stew waiting and asked Grace to pick it up. She came home to an empty wallet, debit card gone. It took her a few days to realize Ray had stolen it, drained the account from 40 grand to 5. Now Grace sat across from Coco and Lisa, mascara streaking down her cheeks. Grace, we're family, Lisa said gently. We're not stirring trouble for fun. You know he's seeing someone else, Coco added. Grace nodded, part resignation, part disbelief. You're only 30, Lisa continued. Why waste the next 50 years on a man like this? I want to divorce him, Grace whispered. I'm just afraid I'll end up with nothing. The longer you stay, the worse it gets, Coco said. And Jenny's pregnant, Lisa dropped. The ultrasound says it's a boy. Grace's eyes widened. You know what your mother-in-law's offering? Coco asked softly. A house, if that girl gives her a grandson. Grace looked like lightning had struck her spine. Animals, she whispered. Every last one of them. They don't even see me as human. I could almost feel the moment something inside her snapped, quiet, focused, lethal. Game on. Coco and I shared a look, one of those silent, lightning flash conversations, and laid out the final phase of the plan. Grace listened without blinking. When we finished, she nodded once, slow, deliberate. I'm divorcing him, she said. And they're going to pay. Turns out the quiet ones bite the hardest. She didn't race to court waving ultrasound photos or secret deeds. She went back to her routine, work, daycare runs, grocery lists, like nothing had changed. But under the surface? She was moving chess pieces. 2 months later, she moved into a small rental and filed for divorce, citing one simple line, multiple infidelities. Nothing about the mistress. Nothing about hidden houses. Just a single, surgical accusation. Ray's mom wasn't worried. Ray had drained 90% of their liquid cash, stole $350,000, left $5 in the bank and a used car in the driveway. Splitting that seemed like a win for her. During mediation, Grace played it cool, asked for time to think. Then, boom, she filed a fresh motion refusing all settlement. Turns out she'd uncovered a $5 million apartment Ray had stashed under a cousin's name. Grace accused him of hiding marital assets and demanded the property outright. Ray swore the down payment was mommy's money, claimed Grace hadn't pitched in a cent. The judge only half bought it. Grace produced security cam footage from the real estate office, Ray signing paperwork behind her back, but the court still wouldn't hand the whole apartment to her. Fine. Grace switched strategies. After the hearing, she invited Ray and his mom to a quiet tea house. No lawyers. No audience. The moment they sat down, she said, calm as winter air, funny how far a family can fall, isn't it? Ray's mom slammed a palm on the table, rattling china. You ingrate. After everything we. Grace cut her off. Careful. At your age, stress can be deadly. And if anything happens to you, half of those 8 apartments will land in probate, maybe even in my lap. Ray lurched to his feet, fist cocked. Grace didn't flinch. I hear Mr. Lee just got promoted, she said lightly. And the provincial inspection squad hits Shaanxi next month. Ray froze. What are you implying? He growled. You took bribes, Ray. Your family overcollected demolition payouts. I have proof. She folded her hands. Pay off the mortgage on that hidden apartment within 30 days and transfer the deed to me. Then we part ways. Ray's mom let out a string of curses. Ray tried to bluff. The inspection team targets officials, not nobodies like you. Drag Lee down and half the province falls with him, they'll bury you before they touch us. But the threat sounded hollow, even to him. Grace stood. Your call. Enjoy the tea. They caved. A few months later, the deed was hers. The lawsuit dragged almost a year, but she walked out of court the winner. Ray? Coco's dad fired him the same day Grace handed over evidence of cooked books, absolute zero-tolerance offense. No severance, no second chances. Unemployed and broke, Ray drifted. Grace landed an editor job downtown, rode the bus to work each morning in a thrift store blazer and brand new confidence. Ray's mother kept feuding with Jenny, who delivered a baby boy and wanted the promised apartment. Day after day, 2 women screaming across a cluttered kitchen, flinging insults and dishes. No winners, no dignity. Operation Redemption, complete. Months later, at dawn, Coco's phone pinged. Grace, thank you. Before Coco could type a reply, another message popped up. Grace, turns out the stories that belong only to me are actually worth reading. She added a winking emoji. Coco showed me the screen, we both smiled. Sometimes a woman has to lose everything, money, marriage, even her old name, before she realizes she can write a whole new story from scratch. And this time, the story is hers.